I want to know how the fuck the word fuck gets in the New York fucking Times. Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to do another one of these, like, I don't know, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the film's release kind of reviews like I did with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990. Um, Coming at you to review the movie by the name of Crazy People that came out in 1990. I looked online, looks like it came out in April of 1990. And this is a movie that I probably wouldn't have seen. I may never have seen if it wasn't for it was like probably the second movie or something like that at a drive-in that I saw with my dad. I would imagine, I was trying to think of the movie, that we went to actually see. Maybe we went to see Days of Thunder and The Crazy People was the movie following it or something like that. I don't know what the first movie that we would have went to see was, but one thing that was cool about drive-ins, or still is cool about drive-ins, is a lot of times they'll do either a double or triple feature or something like that. So a lot of times you can see movies that you didn't necessarily intend on seeing at drive-ins, and movies that you never probably would have seen otherwise you can see. And that's happened a lot with me in my childhood and teen years and stuff, and even into adulthood and stuff, where there's movies that will just be the second showing at a drive-in or something that you never intended on seeing and you ended up liking it. So that was really a cool thing. Another really cool thing about drive-in theaters is that I may not be reviewing this movie right now. I may not have had this movie as a part of my life for the last 30 years if it wasn't for having seen it at a drive-in theater. So that's really kind of cool. This is one of those movies that, as I said, I never would have just seen the ad in the paper and just sought it out or anything like that. I don't know if I would have even, I've got the original VHS here. I don't know if I would have even rented it, seeing this in the video store. It's kind of a boring cover. You've got the 90s artwork and font kind of stuff going on there. One thing I just looked at this cover now before I started the video. One thing I do like about it is, unlike so many times, since with movie posters and stuff, you've actually got, how about that? You've actually got the actor, the performer's names above their picture. A lot of times it seems like they do it on purpose just to piss me off. You'll have two people on the cover and then the names will be, over the other person. It just really pisses me off. And it's like they do it on purpose to just piss me off. And I'm sure that's what they do. So, back in the 1990 and stuff, Paramount was just doing like one image on the back of the VHS, probably just because the guy in the art department was lazy or whatever. But the original VHS, I do have the Laserdisc that I ended up getting previously viewed years ago, but I couldn't find it for the life of me, and I figured, well, since only probably 10 people are going to watch this video anyway, I'm not going to spend hours and hours looking for the Laserdisc to show to 9 or 10 people that watch this video. So I said, fuck it, I'll just show the VHS, and that's what I did. Basically, the premise of this movie is kind of interesting. As you can see on the VHS here, it says a comedy about truth and advertising. So this movie is basically about this Dudley Moore. This might be the first movie I've seen Dudley Moore in. And incidentally, I think this is one of his last movies he did before he would die. I'm not exactly sure when he died. Was it like the mid or late 90s or something like that? This is obviously the downward stretch of his career, or the ending years of his career or whatever. This is probably, as I was saying, the first movie that introduced me to Dudley Moore. And I got to tell you, I really took to him as a performer in this movie. I've since seen, several more Dudley Moore movies, and he's a kind of a performer that, I kind of gravitate to. I kind of like Dudley Moore, and I do like him in this movie. And obviously, if because I saw this when I was 13 for the very first time, and just, a lot of times when you see a performer in their first role, it's just like, for me anyway, that's just the role that you just, because it's the first role you've seen him in, that's just the role that, the ultimate Dudley Moore role, because it's the first role I've seen him in or whatever. But the premise of this movie is basically this character that Dudley Moore plays is, just split up with his girlfriend, so he's like having a mental breakdown kind of a thing. And I don't know, one stormy night or whatever, he's like, his life is in a bad way because, you know, his girlfriend left him and stuff, and one dark and stormy night he decides to, he's an ad man in New York, I think, or something like that, and one dark and stormy night he starts making all these ads. He's got this idea for ads that are truthful ads, and to be honest, I'm really surprised. Of course, you know, all of these ads in the movie that feature actual companies, of course, you know, they are getting getting advertising in the movie by doing these mock ads and stuff. But I don't know if something like this could actually be done now. I want to say that, you know, corporations and all these companies wouldn't even be interested in doing this kind of stuff now. Where if you've seen the movie, of course, you know of course, which is, you know, these ads that he comes up with, you know, like Volvo, boxy but good. Quaker Oats, you know, is the cereal good? Who knows? But at least the box is cute, you know. All these kind of ads. Jaguar, sleek and smart. For men who want hand jobs from beautiful women they hardly know. These kind of ads that, you know, this Dudley Moore character is, you know, going through a rough patch of his life right now. He's kind of having a little breakdown or whatever. I don't know if I'd call it a breakdown, but that's what they think he's having. So he ends up coming up with these. He's just bored of the, you know, lying in the ads, you know, like this dishwash softens hands or whatever, this does that or this whatever. He's been doing this for who knows how long, and he's just sick of the lies that he puts in the ads that he writes and stuff like that. This guy's in charge of writing the slogans and stuff like that and creating these ads. I think he's the one who comes up with the slogans and, you know, the fancy sayings and all this and that for all the you know, the ads and stuff. So he's just like bored of lying, and he's like, well, let's just try telling the truth in these ads. And basically, I've never been a fan of Paul Reiser. Paul Reiser is his partner in the movie, and once he gets a whiff of this, it's funny because it seems like the Dudley Moore character does all the work, and Paul Reiser just kind of almost takes the credit for his work or whatever. But Paul Reiser character finds out that, you know, takes him back to his house and finds out that his girlfriend left him and like took everything, you know, in the house or whatever. So at this point, I think he, I don't know if he comes in the next day. I don't remember. Regardless, it doesn't matter. So Paul Reiser ends up sending this guy, Dudley Moore character, to this mental institution to get him, you know, checked out or fixed. It's funny when, you know, it's funny when someone actually goes from, you know, they're making a living telling lies, and then they want to start telling the truth that they're sent to the mental institution. Kind of interesting little insight into you know, our actual reality that we live in there. And, you know, it's kind of poignant, and, you know, let's face it, they put things in movies, you know, winks at the audience and stuff. They put a lot of truth in movies, and I just think it's kind of a sad commentary on the world, really, that someone's, you know, gets paid for decades to lie, and then he comes in one day and he wants to tell the truth, and they send him to the booby hatch. A little kind of, you know, scary insight into this backwards, fucked up world we live in. But what ends up happening is he actually had these, you know, these ads and stuff printed, and he showed them to the Paul Reiser character, and that's what sent him to the nut house or whatever. What ends up happening is, through all kinds of hubbub and miscommunication and stuff like that, while Paul Reiser is actually checking him into the nut house, you know, he's on the phone with this one guy, and he's like, well, the ads have to go out now, and he's like, okay, well, take the ads off my desk, and, you know, just say you've got my verbal okay. Well, they're the ads, you know, that the Dudley Moore character, you know, the true ads that he made up and stuff like that. So the wrong ads get actually printed in magazines, end up on, you know, sides of buses and billboards and all this kind of stuff. These ads that I told you a little bit about earlier on, like, you know, you know, the French what's come to Greece we're nicer, I don't know. The French can be annoying, come to Greece we're nicer or whatever. I don't know how many, if there's any more ads that I think I pretty much said you know, like the Volvo and the Jaguar, and I don't know what other ads that get actually printed. Oh, fat. You know, if you look like this, you're fat. As a matter of fact, you're a fat slob. Do something about it. And we'll send you a free plant if you call now. So there's all these truth ads, or truth themed ads that get put in the, meanwhile when he's getting checked in, these true ads are, these goofy true ads are running and stuff like that, and actually working. The fat people, fat slobs, are calling in, and record numbers for the free plant and all this and that, and all kinds of guys that want hand jobs are going to Jaguar dealerships. They don't show anything about anyone going to Volvo dealers, because there's nothing about hand jobs in the ad or whatever. But so basically, and then so that's the basic gist of the beginning of the movie, and what ends up happening, of course. And what's funny about this, this nut house is it's like out in the country, and it's really located in a really kind of nice spot. Oh, another thing that I didn't want to forget to mention is the music. Cliff Idleman does the music for this movie. Ever since I saw this movie, and of course at this time I was basically listening to nothing but classical music, being a 13-year-old, and I love the score for this movie. I mean, it's just so freaking great. It's really, really, really great, and it's just such a huge part of the movie for me. It's just like, oh wow, the score is just so freaking amazing. And on DVD, they actually put it on DVD, and it's like this 5.1. That's actually the, in the 5.1 Dolby Digital, and the music sounds so good on the 5.1 DVD. And that's one thing I didn't want to forget to mention, is the music score in this movie is really good. It's kind of like what James Horner did with, to a certain extent, on Batteries Not Included. Just this really, just really kind of just light, and it just puts a smile on your face. Score, light theme, just kind of happy kind of score. Another thing I didn't want to forget to mention is this is probably my first. Watching this movie might have been my first exposure to this one guy who's basically, unfortunately, got stuck playing the same character over and over and over. This J.T. Walsh, who was just, unfortunately, every movie I've pretty much seen him in plays the same character, where he's just an asshole, same kind of character. Like, he'd go on to be in Needful Things, of course, and stuff like that. And it's not like I've seen every movie he's been in, but everything I think I've seen him in, he's always been the same kind of asshole character. And this guy, and I just looked him up online, and I didn't know he died in '98. That's a bummer. Because I was wondering, like, why did this guy stop being in movies? Well, that's why. That kind of, dying kind of puts a hamper in your movie career, or any career for that matter. But J.T. Walsh is in this movie, and he's like the bigwig who's, Paul Reiser and Dudley Moore's boss and stuff. So he's the bigwig who turns into, of course, this thieving, conniving asshole as the movie progresses, because the ads end up being successful and stuff like that. So all of a sudden he's like, we'll get Dudley Moore back from the institution, because he's a marketing genius and stuff. Meanwhile, Dudley Moore has met this. He meets this cute, tall blonde chick played by Daryl Hannah, of course. And it's funny how I don't know, she's nuts, but it's okay as long as she's good looking or whatever. And I kind of find this dialogue that Dudley Moore says, being kind of a short guy himself, it's kind of funny that his character is all about women's looks and stuff. But he's like, the girlfriend that left him was cute, and all this, and we never see her, but that's how he describes her. And it's like, cuteness is very important in a relationship. And it's just like, yeah, well, I don't know, this guy who's like 5 feet tall, or 4'10", or whatever he was, or whatever. Not to badmouth Dudley Moore, but I'm just saying it's how it's kind of ironic that the character they wrote for him is all about like looks and a girlfriend. Like, that's the most important thing, when he's not exactly a supermodel himself or whatever. But of course he ends up with or meeting this Daryl Hannah character, who's nuts, who's been at the nut house for I don't know how long, and she's got all kinds of issues and problems. And like I say, it's funny because the closing credits of this movie they say, like, mental illness is a serious, serious condition and not meant to be taken lightly. And it's like this disclaimer, like it's almost like a pack of cigarettes or something, with the Surgeon General warning on it. Like, I'm surprised they didn't put, nowadays they'd put that disclaimer before the movie even starts, now in the days of, drugging kids up and having, every kid on some kind of mood changing, mood altering drug or whatever. Now it'd be, along with this movie has scenes of strobe lights and stuff that might affect people, and it, with adverse to these conditions, and then it makes you wonder, well, why do you have to have flashing strobe light in the movie? It's just like, oh my God. I'm off on a tangent, but I don't even know where the hell I was going. But oh yeah, I was just saying, like, Dudley Moore meets this this hot, cute, crazy blonde chick, and it's funny how it doesn't matter if she's crazy as long as she's cute. And anyway, that's a point that I started making like 10 minutes ago. And so basically, what ends up happening with this movie is, he's at the nut house. By this time he's met, the Daryl Hannah character, and kind of, I don't know, she's just she just kind of, I don't really, she took him to this special spot. And what's so funny is, it's kind of like, it reminds you of not Final Chapter, in Friday the 13th New Beginning, where it's like you've got this nut house that's, got the honor system in the country. And it's just like, if this is how a nut house is, sign me up, because it's like, it's out in the country, it's a beautiful place. Patients can just wander off into the woods and to a nearby barn and all this stuff, and bring unsuspecting short, male, newly institutionalized patients, and just like jump on their lap and make out with them. And he's like, Dudley Moore's like, gosh, aren't we going a little too fast? And she's like, I'm nuts. And he's like, oh, okay. And it's just like, so basically the Daryl Hannah character takes Dudley Moore under her wing right away, and smooches on him, and kind of claims him, if you will. And meanwhile, Paul Reiser comes back and says, oh, your ads are a hit. Well, I don't know what it is about it. We want to get you back. We want to get you, making more ads. We want to figure this out. And meanwhile, of course, Dudley Moore's got this blonde chick who's, I don't know if she's a meter taller than he is or whatever. I don't mean to make fun of Dudley Moore. That's not nice, because after all, I'm not exactly a supermodel myself either. So I don't mean to make fun of Dudley Moore. I'm just, you know me when I do these reviews, it's not staged. It just, my mouth just flaps and everything just comes out uncensored like. And if there's cuts in videos, a lot of times it's because when I was editing after the fact, I thought better of certain stuff that I'd say, and, that I've said, and, we'll cut it out or whatever. But not every single cut means that, but some of the cuts do. So that's the premise of this movie. Dudley Moore, of course, when Paul Reiser comes to get him, to bring him back to the job, now having this hot blonde sitting on his lap, and with prospects of who knows what. Maybe he can take it even, maybe she'll take it even further than kisses and hugs and stuff. Maybe, they'll have some crazy sex in the future, And it's so funny that this character would even be, and it's kind of a little insight into, the male mind or whatever. It's like, who cares if she's nuts? She's hot, so hopefully I have a future with her. And it's just like, oh my God. Of course, that's what Dudley Moore is thinking. Dudley Moore character is thinking, and he's even saying it on camera, is like, he wants to, you become important to me. I want to have a future together or whatever. If you can someday leave the nut house or whatever. And it's just kind of funny how, even though it's just a movie, like, yeah, who cares if she's nuts? She's hot. So, of course, Dudley Moore doesn't want to go back. He's got this hot blonde who knows how far she'll go. I mean, if she, jumps on his, I don't think she really jumps on his lap, but if she smooches him, like, right after they met and stuff, and takes him to this special barn place and stuff, Dudley Moore character is thinking it probably won't be long before she's doing other things. And I'm not going back to the city. Why would I do that? So basically what ends up happening is, Dudley Moore, in the meantime, meets all these goofy characters, these other nutty characters at the nut house and stuff, and they basically, Drucker is the what's his J.T. Welsh character, who's the big wig. So Drucker threatens to cancel his insurance and so basically Dudley Moore won't be able to remain at the hospital unless he comes back. So basically, you know, in a group session with all these nutcases and stuff, Dudley Moore character comes up, or basically shares his predicament with people. Well, you know, I'm gonna have to go back to the city and start doing ads. They're gonna cancel stop paying for me to be here. And then Daryl Hannah's like, well, we can do ads with you, you know. So basically, all these nut jobs and stuff start writing these true ads for, you know, along with and for Dudley Moore character, and it's a big hit, and they're sending him back to New York. All these, you know, ads that all these nutcases are making and stuff, and they're running on TV, they're running in print, they're, you know, on sides of buses or on billboards, all this kind of stuff, and it's a big hit, you know. And meanwhile, the Drucker asshole takes credit for it, and of course, you know, the J.T. Welsh character is taking credit for it and all this and that. And later on, he gets in cahoots with the, you know, the bigwig who runs the nut house and stuff like that. And of course, with comedies, one thing I really hate about most comedies is they do this thing where it's like the last, I don't know if it's like the last 15, you know, like the 15 minutes before the movie ends or 20 minutes before the movie ends, it has to do this, you know, it's all fun and happy. It's got to do this depressing dip before it can, you know, bounce back and become happy. Some movies even do it like where it gets depressing and then like 5 minutes later it's back to happy again. It's just so ridiculous what they do, and that's one of the problems with comedies. It's funny because it's like the same with kids movies. Like kids movies and comedies, that's why I love horror movies. It's because you don't have that, you know, dip towards the end of the movie and to come back. The whole thing's horrible. So kids movies and comedies, you got to have this depressing dip where you know, so it's all good for a while where all the nutcases are making ads and stuff like that. Then what happens? I don't know how the depressing dip happens, but you know, they realize that you know, Dudley Moore character is realizing that they're just being used, and all they get is ballpoint pens for all their efforts and stuff like that. And at one point they bring all these characters cars and stuff, and there's a goofy scene of them just driving cars, and this one guy who can talk about nothing but sobs gets a sob, and just this scene. Oh, Daryl Hannah character keeps talking about, you know, her brother in the army who's writing her letters and gonna come swoop her off her feet one day, and Dudley Moore's talking to the big wig asshole of the hospital, and he's like, you know, oh, did she take you to a special place, and what she tell you about her brother in the army who's gonna sweep her up, and you know, she wrote those letters herself. And you know, sometime, as I said, towards the end of the movie, that, you know, this is the depressing part of the movie where Dudley Moore character is gonna go back, you know, leave the nut house, go back to New York, and realizes that, you know, Daryl Hannah might be a fraud, and of course, gee, she's nuts. What do you know, are you surprised about that? You know, did she write the letters herself? And she's like, I certainly don't think so. And there's this ambiguity about, you know, well, is she telling the truth or lying or whatever? So this is the downward part of the, you know, of course, towards the end of the movie where it's all sad and it looks like, you know, the nutcases are, I think, did the nutcases, because, you know, the Dudley Moore character leaves, then the nutcases get, you know, unproductive and stuff like that, and Drucker just becomes more of an asshole and threatens this and that and stuff. So the movie goes really, you know, from being fun and, you know, all this kind of stuff to, like I say, I hate that about most comedies, just to this low point where it's like, oh, mopey and stuff, and only for, I'm not exactly sure how. It seems like that, you know, obviously the brother in the army is revealed to be true, as I'm not exactly sure how Dudley Moore actually, I haven't watched this for a while now, but how he actually comes back into the, well, there's this Mercedes Ruehl, or however the hell you say her name, is the kind of this faculty at the nut house who is on the side of the nuts in the Dudley Moore character. So she ends up getting fired as well, and she tracks down, I think, the brother in the army of Daryl Hannah's character. So I'm not exactly sure how Dudley Moore becomes into the picture, if he gets a call from that Mercedes Ruehl character, or whatever. But regardless, all's well that ends well, of course, at the end of the movie where, you know, Daryl Hannah's all depressed about everything falling apart, all the Dudley Moore character being gone, and all the nutcases are sad because he's gone and are no longer producing good ads. Now they're under threat from Drucker, who's in cahoots with the bigwig who runs the hospital. Of like they're gonna I think the threat is they're gonna separate these nutcases who've been together for so long and stuff. So it's just sad part of the movie, and of course I think Daryl Hannah character goes to her secret spot with the the barn and stuff, and this helicopter comes down, and its brother Dudley Moore and Mercedes Ruehl characters are in the helicopter, and they actually come and sweep Daryl Hannah and all the nutcases that we know and love, take them away from this horrible institution where this guy who runs it's just being in cahoots with Drucker, the J.T. Welsh character, and all's well that ends well. This review, as always, probably went on way too long, but that's how it goes because I'm probably a little nutty myself. So that's Crazy People, a movie that actually became kind of endearing to me over the years. I can remember renting this VHS, not this particular one probably, but a VHS like it in like sometime in '91. Apparently it came out, I was looking online and I found a poster for the video release. It apparently came out in October on video, and I don't remember things coming out in April and coming out in October on video. That just seems like a really quick turnaround for back then. It seems like back then movies would take a better part of a year to come out on. So May, June, July, August. Yeah, I guess that's 6 months. I guess 6 months was kind of the minimum back then. And this movie probably didn't do very well. So probably because it didn't do very well, they got it out quicker. But I can remember renting it in the spring of '91 and watching it. I have this vivid memory of back in the day, with all these mom and pop video stores. There used to be one really close by where they'd have free posters and free standees. And I actually got this Child's Play 2 home video standee that was sealed and completely sealed in the box. And I got one over the years for like around the same time for Graveyard Shift as well. But this awesome Child's Play 2, I mentioned it in my review of Child's Play 2 that's on this channel. This awesome standee for Child's Play 2 where it's an actual like 3D kind of version of Chucky. It's actually got a cardboard, actual 3D, physical cardboard, the Jack in the Box thing, and with the a spring coil for the thing, and you cardboard Jack in the Box head, and sorry Jack, Chucky's back. Anyway, what I'm saying is I have this vivid memory of like putting on, Dad and I put on Crazy People, and I was putting together this brand new, never been open standee of Child's Play 2 while the movie was playing in the background. And it's just like, oh man, to be young again. That memory has never left my mind. Every time I watch this movie, I think of that standee, because, but as you can see, it's so funny that how movies that you never necessarily intended to see, just because you saw it at a drive-in, how they can become so important. How this movie may, like I say, if I hadn't saw it at the drive-in, I may never have seen it at all, and I would have missed out on the really kind of quaint and cute little storyline and stuff like that, and the incredible score for this movie as well. And I would have missed out on the just the funny ads and all this and that they come up with and stuff. And as I said in closing, I'm really surprised that these companies even went along with these ads. But after all, it's advertising for them. But like I say, I don't think they do it now. I don't think you can have this movie made now. Companies would be just way too freaking uppity or tight-assed or whatever to even have fun like this. Like the ad commercial that the movie ends up with, or closes out with, the Sony thing where because of everyone's just so fucking political correct now, you couldn't even do this. But because Caucasians are just too damn tall, there's this Sony ad, the true Sony ad at the end is just like, the reason Sony is so good is because all these short Asians where all their faces are so close to the circuit boards, and there's this, this hidden camera footage of, Caucasians working at a electronics, whatever you want to call it, factory, and they're so tall, so they're so far away from the circuitry that they can't make good circuit, components and all this stuff, and it's just like, Sony, because Caucasians are just too damn tall. It's like, oh man, the good old days. But anyway, I'll give Crazy People, oh, what the hell am I going to give it? 3 1/4 star out of 4 stars for Crazy People. The reason it's not higher is just because it does that frickin' annoying thing that, as I said, the majority of comedies that I've seen does, with towards the end of the movie, just depressing slump only to come back happy or whatever. I never liked that stuff, even as a kid, seeing kid movies. And it's funny because over the summer, I rewatched quite a few like movies from my childhood and all this and that, and movies that were like PG and family friendly, and it's like, God, they're so depressing towards, same thing, 20 minutes before the movie's over or whatever, they got to do that depressing slump. It's like Batteries Not Included. I reviewed that earlier this year. That's a perfect example of it. It's just like, the movies, the child movies that do that depressing slump towards the end of the movie is much more, as an adult, much more horrifying than watching the whole, length of a horror movie from front to back. It's like, oh my God, and it's just scary how it's like they put the most mentally, I'm talking about kids movies now, they put the most mentally, stressful stuff in kids movies, and it's just like, ugh. But anyway, that's another video. Thank you very much for watching my review of Crazy People. It's a movie that I would recommend if you can find it for free or find it for cheap, or even not cheap. Watch the trailer, maybe there's some clips on YouTube, whatever, but it's a movie from 1990 that has a film score that's so great. A lot of movies from 1990, if they have a more 1990-ish score or whatever, they might date it, but I mean, the film score in this movie is just timeless. So, so what's really great about this movie's film score is it doesn't date it like so many of, if you've got these stupid scores with saxophones and drum kit machines and all this crap. Anyway, this is a really kind of a fun, and so what's so great about it is it's rated R, and you can just have all these curse words and swear words and all this kind of stuff. So swear words are always a whole lot of fun. So feel free to check out Crazy People if you feel so inclined to do so. Thank you very much for watching this review, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.